Hey, AfterBuzzers and Married at First Sight fans, we are here to talk about Honeymoon Island, your new favorite dating show. We can't wait to break it down and how these 5 couples are doing, so don't go away.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
This was a really fun suggestion. I'm loving it. You said you're on a Queen kick right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is not Queen,
No.
but Blinded by the
Right,
Light.
you're right. I don't know why I said
But
that.
I am on a Queen kick.
But it's the same kind of feel, and Blinded by the Light is perfect for this episode.
100%. Welcome back, guys, to our Honeymoon Island after show. We can't wait to break it down for you. And before we do that, I'm your host, Ally, and I am joined by Jen and Lauren. Thank you so much for joining. We're finally all here. This is your panel for Honeymoon Island.
The band is together.
Finally.
Yay.
After, what is it? We're on episode 4 now,
Yeah.
day 11. Can't even believe it. We've got 5 couples standing.
Guys,
Barely.
I mean,
If we can call them all
how
couples.
much changing has happened in between episode 1 and now? Well, they're on like a real. How many weeks do they have total?
So they have
only
like
3.
3 weeks to figure out if they want to be engaged with this
Like,
person.
Which is banana town, if you ask me. But I like that the focus is just to fall in love, and they
Yeah.
have coaches along the way, unlike shows like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise.
Right.
Like, Bachelor in Paradise is basically the unattended version of this one, where they have real educated people guiding the process,
Right.
and they set up challenges to test certain areas to make sure you are going to be a successful relationship.
And
So
they're focusing on really important aspects, like sociology was this episode, and you wouldn't think about that, but on a really expedited schedule as this is, it's very important to pay attention to these things that are real factors in connecting in a relationship. The experts on this show make it. If they didn't have an expert, it would be like every other show.
train wreck.
And it's so good that they're there.
Yeah, and I think what you bring up a great point about Bachelor in Paradise and how they don't have any guidance along the way.
No.
And most of the time it is that first initial connection, which all these Bachelor in Paradise people will be connected on the first day, and then they'll go from there till the end, and then who knows what's going to happen.
They basically ride their whole entire relationship existence on that chemistry connection, which is important, but it is so only one piece of the puzzle.
Totally. And I mean, obviously, we're seeing all these couples kind of have their struggles. And what's great is that I have noticed a lot of them are willing to get help, which is nice.
I love that.
And they're not kind of rejecting the process. They're kind of embracing it and realizing because we have these experts, let's use them.
Have you guys
let's phone a friend, basically.
Let's phone a friend. And have you noticed that most of the dudes are asking for help?
Yes.
Listen, I am not saying that it's. I typically speaking, people in society up until now have called men like not as emotional, or like don't tap into that sort of thing, or they're tough or whatever,
Or they don't ask for directions when they get lost.
whatever it is. So I'm basing it on that societal myth, whether it's true or not, that men aren't as emotional or aren't allowed to be as emotional, that it's there but they're not allowed to do it. I love that on this show most of the men are like, can we take it to the experts because I have some questions, and I love that.
Totally. And I think that what's awesome too is they are all kind of coming together to be like, hey guys, how's it going? Like they're using each other to bounce off ideas.
They're
and
basically dating as a team.
Yeah, they really are.
It takes a village.
It does. That's what we always say.
It totally takes a village. And let's jump in. We're going to break this down couple by couple because I feel like this show kind of has actually separated them in a great way to kind of know the progress of what's happening.
And comparatively, it's interesting to see how some are progressing and others are regressing and that kind of thing.
And like where the strengths in some areas are like very, heightened and then failing in some others. And it's a really good social experiment to show you in your life. Like if I'm super like chemically attracted to somebody, is that really going to carry me through?
It's
By
so
the way,
true.
I've been listening to a really good book on Audible. It's called The Tao of Dating.
Ooh.
And it's like by Ali Benazar. And he just said that men fall in love body, mind, heart in that order. So basically attraction, chemistry, mental and emotional capacity, and then like heart is just like that's when they
The byproduct.
Yeah, they basically fall in love once those things are checked off.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, no man's ever like, I'm really in love with your mind. Like, he
Not
was
at
first
first.
in love with your face, and then he got to know your mind.
What is for the women? Did you get to that point yet?
Oh no, this book is specifically about men.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
I need to check this out. That
Oh, yeah. I'll send you
it's
the
always
Audible
good to
book.
kind of know that side of what's going on in their
Totally,
brains.
right?
Absolutely.
Because I never know.
Because we're not them.
No.
So it would be very challenging to know that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, let's kick it off with Brandin and Jonah. They've kind of had an iffy start, and last episode we saw Brandin wasn't able to really like Jonah until she got her mom's approval.
Right.
Which, I mean, I want to kind of bounce back for a second. How happy were you guys to finally see Brandin have her mom's approval and just go forward?
Well, just speaking of her mom's approval as like a necessary item in this process is very bizarre to me and like a little juvenile. So the fact that she needed her mom to move forward, she actually needs therapy. So it is concerning to me that she called her mommy to come help her. Well, she didn't, but the people did.
I mean, it's also for all intents and purposes of the show, this may have been something that they sort of tapped into a little bit, but Brandin is very closed off, and if she
painful
needs
to
some
watch.
outward encouragement that strongly, that mother or friend or whatever it is in real life, it is a little bit, like I feel like you gotta be in the moment of your relationship and trust in that person. It's very hard for her to do that.
Totally.
That's a red flag.
And it was very excruciating to watch this happen because, you know, obviously everybody's like, I know what I signed up for. I know I'm doing this show. But you know, but you don't know how it's going to make you feel emotionally. And I think that's what we're running into in every single one of these relationships, because it's like, you had to pick the first person that you thought was attractive and then now fold into that and break and like pull the onion, peel the pieces back. And now she's kind of like, ooh, I don't like this so much. So it was a little strange to me that like, if you're going to go and put yourself out there and date someone randomly, but then want the approval first, it did seem a little backwards.
It seemed totally backwards because it's like, you know what you're getting yourself into, and you can't now go back and say, I don't want to do this because I'm not comfortable. Like, this is what
Even
it
having
is.
the conversation, she was saying when the therapist was asking her questions, she was like, I don't like these kinds of conversations. Like, hello?
Right?
Like, how are you going to do this then?
But
You've got
also,
3
like,
weeks.
you literally signed up for a show about relationships and falling in love on air, on TV.
Yeah.
Well, then it's
and
also,
stuff.
I think, great for her because even if this doesn't ever work out, at least she's like getting. Like she's
like intensive.
Right. It's like you're kind of like getting the 411 on dating.
camp.
Yeah. Dating boot camp in 3 weeks, figuring it out if this doesn't work.
Great experts and a great immersive experience. It's really going to show her some true colors about herself. Hopefully she can reflect. I always say the scariest quality about somebody is the inability to self-reflect. So hopefully if things don't work out for these people, they can take the self-reflection and learn.
And I think that's a great point that you bring up because a lot of the other couples are kind of like, Jonah, like, let's take a step back. Is she being there for you?
Totally.
And it seems like she is being a little selfish. I always like to put a little disclaimer. We understand this is a show that we're not seeing all the sides. We know these are real people. We know that they're all going through different things, but we can only kind of report on what we're seeing on
What they're
camera
showing
and what
us.
they're showing
Yeah.
us. So this is only reflecting what we're seeing on the show, but it just seems a little selfish the way that she's acting and everybody else is bringing this up. And Jonah just seems to be such a giving person that he isn't even noticing how selfish she's kind of being in this situation.
And it's also hard as a viewer to see the value in her. Like, why now?
Why
They're sort
now?
of
Yeah.
painting him, again, editing potentially, as this really sweet guy and her as this like cold, closed off person. And it's hard to see why he would like her because we
Right.
don't see her like validating qualities. Like, is she sweet? Is she funny? Do they have great conversation? Especially the fact that she was like withholding affection.
Right.
That it just doesn't make like what is he into there other than the fact that it's a game of musical chairs and now he picked her.
We have to assume, we have to assume that they are having some private moments that we're not seeing because, and it is, I think, I want to call him Jonah, but it's Jonah, right?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Jonah.
It's
No,
Jonah.
but
Jonah would make more sense.
yeah.
but
Jonah
it's
is-
Jonah like short for Jonathan, I think.
It's interesting,
Which is-
but Jonah,
And I think I'm getting confused because there's a Jada, and then so I'm like, I just like
it's
whatever.
But Jonah
yeah.
is like not
Jonah.
a real name, but Jonah is really like open, and he's like the exact opposite as her, and so it's sort of like almost like, are we trying to like pin sides here? Like, do
Yeah.
you want to root for him and not for?
I
but you
root for
have-
him, but
you
also for selfish
But you
reasons.
also have to know that he seems very logical and open, and so there's no way he would continue to be with her if there wasn't something privately happening that we might not be seeing, or who knows.
Totally. And obviously there's been the intimacy issues, and she's kind of like batted his hand a couple times. Something that I was kind of toying back and forth with in my head was she kept saying that she doesn't want to rush things. She wants things to happen naturally.
By the way, I've kissed people way quicker than she has in 10 days.
Yeah.
But also,
on the first date.
things are going to happen naturally in 3 weeks on Honeymoon Island, and you're going to get engaged. Like, that's not
natural.
And I think something that the reason that I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that is because I know if I like somebody and because usually you kind of, they say this is such a cheesy thing, but they're like, when you know, you know. And like, I have felt that before where you're like, oh my gosh, like how do I have this feeling about this person, but I know that I want to kiss them on a first date. Like, you know or you don't know.
Right. And then also they're like cohabitating.
Yeah.
So like really you go home at night and don't have like intimate conversations or like drinks where like now you're a little bit too close and now you're like kind of like, oh, we should make out. How does this happen?
And I think she's choosing to push herself and distance herself a little bit
it could
in
be a
order to
choice.
build that friendship. Because I think that now that she knows that, like, okay, we're going to be stuck together for 3 weeks, I think she might be personally choosing to put that boundary and that wall up.
I think it's a total conscious choice for sure. And I think she is for sure doing this because it probably makes her feel safe in some way, shape, or form. And then she's claiming that there's like a reason. So.
Definitely. And before we get into some other couples, we've got so many other couples to talk about, just like a bunch of other after shows we have here on AfterBuzz TV.
Guys, we do AfterBuzzers. Our network produces after shows for all of your favorite TV shows. That's why you're here watching us doing our after show for Lifetime's Honeymoon Island here, Married at First Sight. Okay, we've got dramas. We've got reality TV like this show. We've got sci-fi and more. There is no network that works harder for their television fans like you. Hi, fans. I know there's a fan named Bella out there watching, so we're going to say hi to her. And we need your help, guys. So we are asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. And by subscribing to our channel, we suggest content that is tailor-made for you. So it's a win-win, guys, and AfterBuzz will continue to grow based on your suggestions. Do not worry about the notifications. We know they're pesky. You can opt out of those things. It's very easy. You'll see when you do it. So just hit the subscribe button for now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. And you guys, let us know that you did so in the comments because we can thank you on air. Right?
How fun is
Give
that?
you a shout out. So thank you guys for being the best fans in the world and for helping us be the ESPN of Talk TV. That's why we're here, guys. We love it.
We love it. We love you guys. And please, hit us up on iTunes Podcast. Give us 5 stars. Let us know what
Tell
you're
us
thinking.
how much you love us.
That kind of thing.
So easy.
And speaking of love, there was a first kiss in the air really quick before we jump to the other couples. Brandin and Jona finally had their first kiss.
Finally.
She said she can't explain the feeling. He's pretty perfect. So I feel like we did a total, 360. She's finally into it.
Yes.
She's ready. And this competition that they won, they now seem like one of the strongest couples.
Totally, which is so weird. But maybe they're onto something like the slow burn.
We talk about the slow burn.
And how-
I think for sure they're like a couple to be reckoned with, only just because I think they're taking their time. And I think that in the short amount of time, taking your time is still try to do it.
Right. I mean, I don't know how any of them want to get like engaged or married after
Right.
this, but hey, maybe it's them.
And listen, we're going to get into the other couples, but Isabella and
That's
we'll get
exactly
into
who
that.
I want to jump
Good.
over to.
Yes.
Because
Jump over
we're
to
talking about, we're going from the
Like a
slow burn
train
all
wreck.
the way to hot and heavy in the beginning.
Yes.
And now here
Train
we
wreck.
are at the end. Train wreck, miserable. I can't even watch it. It's
It is
so
painful.
uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. You have all been there. I've been there. You guys, you meet a guy, you're like, that guy, there's this instant connection. It's so great. And then it just explodes in your face like real fast. That is this.
Yes.
My favorite though is the pastor like commentating on this whole thing.
Oh my God.
Basically like like reporting like ESPN actually like play by play, and he's like, you know what, on paper these two, they actually they do have similar like values as far as like family goes, but they're young. They're 25.
Oh, they're 25.
Yes.
So she acts 25.
And Isabella, for sure, acts 25. Listen, I was there too, but like I'm older than that now, and things change. And that is age is a real thing. And she has also been on this show before. So there is something to compare. Her actions are historically consistent.
She's so nitpicky and looks for something to fall apart, and it's like the dumbest, smallest thing. Like in the previous season, the loofah. But in this, like even the girls that are talking to her
They're like,
are
this is stupid.
Right? They're like, I don't understand.
They're trying to
why she's so upset, and I get where she's coming from. That she's using this like micro to be a macro.
Yeah.
That he didn't communicate with her or listen during this game, but instead of getting mad at him for it, she could just say, listen, I'm actually concerned about this. Do you think this is like a categorical thing? Do you think this was like a one-off thing? Like, I haven't experienced this with you thus far, and I feel all these strong feelings for you based on nothing. But sure.
Chemistry.
We'll move on.
Which is a real thing.
But it's not necessarily long-lasting. But so for her to jump the gun so hard and be so hot-headed, to me, horns grew out of her head. She is going to be unmarriable forever because she has so many rules. This woman is like a drill sergeant in relationships.
Listen, she's not wrong with what she's saying. I want to be able to communicate and I want to be heard. The problem is that she is not having a conversation with him about it. She's just telling him and then she's going, I'm done, and walking away. I can tell you right now, I cannot personally in a relationship, if I feel like I'm trying to talk to you and you just shut me down, I'm like,
I'm same.
Now I'm just not here and I'm non-existent. That's what she's doing, and it's, I think, a sign of immaturity.
I mean, she closed the door and locked him out, and who knows where that poor man slept.
I was having so many feelings, and I was just thinking, this is very selfish, bratty. It's really uncomfortable.
It's unbecoming of her, actually. It's very unattractive. He should judge her even more, like, intensely than she
is.
And I think that one thing that I was noticing too is I felt like he couldn't win for losing, because it's like she wanted him to follow her and ask what's wrong, but then she also wanted to be by herself. So she doesn't even know what she really wants right now. And I think she might be realizing that, like, maybe there's some flaws that she has, because she's realizing this is now like the second time that she's...
Wait, do you really think she realizes this? It doesn't seem like she's very self-aware.
I mean, I think she might be a little bit embarrassed,
Yeah, I think she might be self-sabotaging in a way, because she's kind of like, oh my gosh, I am doing this to myself after not getting the validation from those girls. Because I think on the last show she was on, I don't know if she had validation. Like, I think the guys were, it's second chances. I didn't get to watch that franchise of the show, but I think that the guys probably were still trying to, like, fiend for her attention or something.
She's beautiful, so there's that.
But I just felt like...
There's a lot of beautiful women in the world that are way better behaved than her.
That can trick you a little bit. A physical attraction, they're the example that a physical attraction can kind of trick you a little bit, right? Like, you long for that, like, love at first sight.
Obviously.
Hence the title of the show. We were soulmates from the beginning. Like that, you mix that chemistry and physical attraction. You base too much weight on that.
Yeah.
And they're the example of how that can crash and burn.
Yeah, and Pastor Cal kept mentioning how they haven't gone deep. They haven't really talked about anything besides just surface level of, oh, you're pretty, you're cute, I like you. And then they talked a little bit about family values, but then they kind of just jumped back into flirting, and they didn't really go deeper than that. And I think it does have something to do about maturity, and it's like some people at 25, they're ready to get married, but, you know, at the same time, this is not proving to me that you're ready to get married, because to me, this is just saying that you're easily okay with writing this guy off and not working for it, and you're just ready for the next already.
Which is a shame.
Problem.
Migdalia G in our chat room said she acts 12, not 25. Here,
1,000,000%.
Sister.
I agree.
She's like sending notes in high school and like putting like, I don't know.
And then locking herself in her bedroom and pouting. Not okay.
Oh, cool tantrum, yo.
And I think the way, like, she almost was getting so worked up in her head that she was twisting it even more to be worse than it what actually was.
She was having private conversations in her own mind and working and egging herself on, I think.
But it's also like revisionist history to make the story fit like what you've now created as a crime.
Right.
Ego.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and that whole
Isabella.
game, I was just like, oh, come on. Like, he didn't listen to one word. And I felt
And
so
what,
bad.
they get third place? Like, they didn't get fourth and fifth.
The other girls were like, we got fourth and fifth.
Katie and Eric were just like dead last, and they were just laughing about it.
They won it being last. That's cool.
And the experts talked about that. Like, listen, they're not winning at the game, but find the silver lining. They're having fun.
Right.
And not blaming and shaming each other, which is the worst thing you can do in a relationship.
I mean, man, that is
Yeah.
a really. And then obviously we see the previews, and the previews look
Yeah.
destructive.
I don't really see Tyler saying he's second guessing things, and I just don't really know how it can go up from here
Me too.
unless he's able to get into that room tonight and be able to talk things out. I just really think that this is end game for them.
I agree.
So
I also don't think you go to sleep mad. I just
no,
don't think that's
I
a
don't.
thing.
I do not agree with that. My mom always said like never go to sleep angry, and
It's
like
hard.
It's hard. It's annoying, and sometimes you have to bite your tongue and even admit that you like and say sorry, even if you don't feel sorry.
I need to work
Or
on
just say, I don't think we should talk about this right now. Why don't we both sleep on it? So you're actually communicating that
What
you
you'll
do
do,
need
yeah.
time, but it's more that you're saying it's for the greater good. You're
Right.
not punishing the other person or taking a selfish time out and like giving somebody the silent treatment like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
actually saying, let's agree to just table this for now, sleep, and then we'll talk in the morning
It's
while we're
hard to do
calmer.
that. I need to get better at that.
So I just gave you the script.
Ignoring though, like when someone ignores me, that is one of my most like that makes me heated, and I don't get angry easily, but like I
That's
think
it for
not
you.
being able to communicate with someone
Yeah.
and let them know why I was feeling
When
a certain
someone
way.
steals your voice,
Yes.
I agree.
that is incredibly frustrating because it takes away your option and your
Yeah.
choice. I mean, it's really a big deal.
Yeah.
It is a big deal.
As
I'm
a
gonna give you
child,
some champagne
when I
so
would
you
get
feel better about
grounded
that.
and my parents wouldn't tell me why I was bad or why they made the choice, I would follow them. They're like, go to your room. I'm like, no.
No,
What
tell
are you
me
gonna
why.
Chain me in there?
Tell
no.
me why.
So I would follow them and be like, tell me. Or if I was mad at them, I'd be like, tell me you're sorry. Like I would just follow them until they did.
Oh my gosh.
Like
that's
communicate.
great.
Makes sense.
I know.
Communication
Not very surprising.
is key. I feel like with any of these dating
Yes.
shows, even in scripted, unscripted, just communication.
That's all
you
That
need to
is
do.
the key to everything.
Also, you save a lot of time and energy, honestly.
Seriously, because then you're like, wait, you meant this and I meant sorry.
It's so like there's so
Also,
much clarification.
She
in
just
that.
created an entire campaign, like a smear campaign about him,
Yeah.
only to probably make up with him at some point and then look like the idiot.
And then,
like,
yes,
oh, you just
exactly.
threw that tantrum, girl. We all remember it.
Right.
We were all wide awake for that one.
brutal.
Definitely. Someone who is great at communicating is Shannon and Kimber.
Yes.
They have been very open on the whole topic of having children.
Kids.
And this is something that ever since they kind of started having those deep conversations, they've really gone deeper and deeper and deeper into figuring out the root of this. And I really found it so mature that they were being so reasonable. Neither of them got angry. Shannon wasn't like, that's it. I mean, he did say, like, that's kind of a red flag for me not to have kids eventually, but let's figure out what's
Let's
deeper.
talk about this.
Let's phone our people.
I love that he said this is just a conversation. This is not like an ultimate decision. We're just talking about it. We don't need to make a choice right now. I'm okay with where we're at right now. Maybe it's going to be a issue in the future. Maybe it's not going to be. She was totally open and vulnerable with admitting her feelings behind why she doesn't want to have a child, which was like really
Honest.
honest and
vulnerable.
kind of scary. And he
But the fact also that they have these two guides on the show, and that these people, like Shannon specifically, the man,
he asked for help,
right.
and I love that.
and
He's an
and she
example.
was willing. And I think those are two willing participants. This couple might actually be one that sticks around because if both of them want to put in the work and they're not playing games, then that's usually the recipe for success. You choose each other and you proceed. And every choice you make thereafter is that of we want to make this partnership
Check
work.
Check
So,
in.
Yeah. So the fact that she was vulnerable and opened up, and it wasn't like she shut down like Isabella did, or, you know, needed to call her mom like, you know, Brandin did. They're being more adult about the whole thing. And they sat in front of, you know, the two experts, and they were so warm
So
and
good.
welcoming and approachable and also comforting and praising her for the fact that she even was honest about this and phrased it in the way she did.
Right. I just think that they have some sort of natural, like their chemistry is there and their communication. And I just see them growing like deeper and deeper in connection with each other each day. And it's really fun to watch.
I agree.
And they're just a really cute couple. Like them with like the diary cams. And they're just
Totally.
like, you're cute. No, you're cute. It's just adorable.
They're both
I
so
did
cute.
not peg them as someone that I would like have my eye on, but now I do.
Right.
Yeah.
I honestly thought like, oh, you two picked each other because you didn't like anybody else.
I kind of did think that too, but now I actually like where they're at.
Same.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see where this is going to go. And I think it's only going to go up considering that they've been super like communicative with everybody, and they're not really having any barriers right now.
No.
There's nothing really stopping them. They already have admitted they're like good in the bedroom. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're good in the bedroom, and they haven't like they were the only couple I think that was not like you have to sleep on the couch.
No, I think they're
No,
just
they
like,
just
let's
went
just
for
do
it.
it. Yeah, I
So
like that.
I'm
We get it. It's
loving-
Honeymoon Island.
I think they're very real.
Yeah.
I like that they're very real.
Exactly. I love that so much. And they talked about, Kimber's mentioned many times about her ex and talking about how she was kind of a mom at one point. And I think it's great to be able to even talk about that and mention that.
Yeah.
Chris and Jada, they're someone that I was a little suspicious about in the beginning.
sure.
I wasn't really sure if I even noticed they had a connection. I felt like Jada was a little standoffish. Chris seemed a little fake to me. But now I think that that's just his genuine, like, obviously he has admitted in a sense that he was kind of a player at one point.
But which guy wasn't?
Yeah, exactly. But I really think he's so genuine.
He is really good looking. He's totally my type. And
Lauren's
he
type.
is.
I like Jonah, as I've mentioned.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with you. After the singing episode, I like his voice and I think he's great, but I'm like, are you here for other reasons, like they say on The Bachelor? I don't know if for whatever reason I totally believe that he's as into her as he says he is. I think that on paper,
Interesting.
logically, she would be a good mother. I think he's a good dad. I think he loves his daughter. I think all of that is very important to him. If you were to ask me to put all of my money on the fact that this relationship would work off of TV, if they end up being the ones and they are together and then TV ends, if they were going to stand the test of time, I would say no way.
Interesting. I do wonder though about like how he said singing is a big part of her life, about a big part of his life, and he wants to share that. Like for us, for instance, like we all do, AfterBuzz TV. Like, wouldn't we all want our partner to watch us and like support us, and like we do our podcast here, like. If our partners didn't watch us do these things that we do, that like we have passion for, that we thrive on, like they'd be missing a big part of our lives. So maybe he felt like, well, this is
Okay.
I don't have like devices necessarily to like show her.
Okay,
or
that's a fair statement.
so maybe we caught that because they put it in this episode because
Right.
they needed some airtime,
Yeah.
basically, because everybody else was like the focus of this episode. But maybe that just happened to be his genuine action.
true.
Listen, I could
I'm
be
willing to
wrong.
accept that.
I think I'm in the name of love right now,
Yes.
and also in our chat room, Justin6 really loved Chris this episode, and I think that's important that a guy thought that this guy was genuine.
I like that. Okay, I'm not normally the negative Nelly, but I can subscribe to what you're
Naysayer.
just saying. No, I totally can go along with that. That's the flip side of what I was just saying. I'm just
No, I understand where you're coming
Totally,
from.
and there's always one that's like there
Right.
for the wrong reasons.
But I think that, in my opinion, if you were wanting to go on a show to kind of promote, like he already has the followers before this show. Like he doesn't really need that. In my
okay.
idea, like
How
he
many
doesn't-
followers does he have?
I think he has the hundreds,
Oh,
100,000s, yeah.
Good
So
for him.
I feel like he doesn't really need that. He's whatever
Okay.
he's got going for him, and
True.
I think he's kind of figuring out how to find that genuine person and
to be with him
right.
and a mother of his,
and not
which is
just
sweet.
there
Because
for
he
the
gets
fame.
emotional.
I will say
Exactly.
that, and he does, and that's real. And I will say, my boyfriend has a daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
that is very real for him too.
Right.
And it does exist. Like I know that that's a real thing. That is always first and foremost with a genuine guy. Before anything, if they have a child, I know from my experience, and maybe for Chris it's the same. Like that is always going to come first. And
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, as a woman, that's what you should want.
Yeah.
You should want the man to put their child first
Totally.
because that is the most
attractive
important
thing,
thing.
too.
Yes. So don't be like offended by it. Like
No.
that's
Yeah.
what you want to see.
And-
also, less pressure on you. That
Well,
kid
but
comes
for
first, so
many
you just
reasons,
kind of hang
but-
out and you're cool.
Also, when you have your own child with this person, do you want them to be like,
A dad,
Right.
dad? No,
Come
you want
on.
them to be super dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing that kind of helped me realize that Chris was definitely here for the right reasons, in my opinion, was when he turned, what was her name, Jocelyn, down. And the way he turned her down was like, listen, I admit I was attracted to you at first, but the chemistry and what our conversations consisted of wasn't real to me. Like, you didn't ask me once about my daughter. And I feel like that was a very mature thing to state that in like not just like, oh sorry, like, you know, but he like legitimately told her, listen,
Yes,
you
this
didn't
is
ask,
why.
this is why you didn't ask about my daughter. I'm sorry, but you just that shocked me.
He didn't pull a Tyler and Isabella where they just went like, I really think you're hot. Like, he was not going to deny the fact that he was attracted to her, but then he
Right.
went deeper, and that was important, I think.
And I respect that he gave her closure.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
honestly, too.
Right.
Because he showed sustenance there.
And I think she learned from
Not
it.
sustenance, substance, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But I
Both.
Yeah, and I think that she actually, as a person, can walk away from this experience learning something like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, like, I really need to listen to people when they talk to me, because that's probably, you could see on her face, it was all registering, like, whoa, you're right, I didn't, and that's crappy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But so that's how I'm feeling about
So
Chris
do you
and
think
Jada.
Chris, okay, so maybe I'm wrong, okay? I might be more on board about Chris.
I mean,
he's real cute.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, we'll all see. We've only been like 4 episodes
halfway
in. We're
through.
day 11.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to change from here? But I think
Who
he's
knows?
genuine.
I don't know.
Let's jump on over because we're running out of time to Eric and Katie really quick. I don't know why.
They're flying under the radar for
they're-
sure.
Because they're snooze fast.
I think they're honestly. I just don't see them happening at all.
I think they're friends and they're just hanging out now for
I
like the
agree.
vacation.
Yeah.
I agree.
And like they're talking about traveling and stuff, and I think that they could go traveling. You're right, and become best friends, go backpacking. But there's no romantic spark there.
I totally agree. I think that that's why they're able to have fun during this exercise of like communication when they're not really doing a good job of it because they're not taking it personally. It's not hitting home for them. I think there's a level of disconnection that's happening there. And I think that they're lovely and fun. And there are some things on paper that match, but I do think that there just isn't a connection there. And you cannot fabricate that. It's just not going to happen for them.
Something that I thought was funny is they said Pastor Cal was like, scientifically they're the same, they match best because they're in the same location and they socially get along.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
well, anybody can.
Listen,
Swipe right, guys.
We've dated many a men in the same geographic location
Doesn't
as
work
us,
out sometimes.
called LA, and it doesn't mean diddly squat.
Right.
No. But man, this is definitely a fun show to talk about.
What
I
a
could
great
go on.
social experiment,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
I think it's great, and I think
Sign me up.
I think it's awesome that they don't. There's really no pressure. Like they don't have to get engaged at the end of this.
I like it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I think Eric and Katie, who in my head forever will be Janice. I don't know why. She just looks like a Janice. But I think they're just like, you know what? We don't really like each other, but let's ride this out because let's stay here as long as we
I think
can
they're smart.
and be on vacation.
They're both very smart, and
Right.
I love it.
Yeah,
What's
I think
his
they're
name?
milking it. It's only 3 weeks. They probably requested 3 weeks off of whatever job
Yeah.
they both do, and they're like, let's just stick it out.
And Eric's in and out of his like, I'm speaking fine English, and then I go into my like, I'm gonna want to live in Colombia.
Yeah.
It's like, and she's like, oh my god, his accent's sexy. I'm like, no, we don't. It's
No
like,
one buys
come on.
that.
But I do think that they are a great example of like being kind of smart about where you're at, and
Yeah.
they're smart people, and they're just having fun, and they're not taking it too seriously, and that's okay sometimes too.
100%. This is so much fun, ladies. I'm
my
so
God.
excited that we get to continue talking about
Yay!
this. Really quick before we get into predictions, we're going to have a special segment. Jen and Lauren have their own show, It's Complicated, so they can give you the best dating advice possible. What I suggest you guys do, if you have any questions and there's things that you would want to ask the experts, ask our lovely ladies here. You can ask in the chat. You can maybe tweet at us or comment below. But I had a question to kick it off this week.
Yes.
And that would be, obviously these are experts. Do you think that's what they're saying? They are experts. They can help with relationships. But do you think that even though they're the quote unquote experts, are they getting fed this by like a script department? Are they getting fed what to say, what to do? Or do you think that they really have this knowledge?
I think for sure to make the show run, there was an element of both. So, yes, I do think that there needs to be some things that they're hitting based on this episode about sociology. Next one's like sexuality or the science of sex or whatever it is. So, yes, they're hitting some bullet points, but because they are real experts and these are real issues that people need to pay attention to, I think it is literally both things. And I feel as though they're probably not getting fed what the advice they're saying, but they're trying to like stick to a subject. So the subject is being fed, and then their advice is genuine and real and really helpful. I think.
I agree. I mean, I quoted what was it, the pastor on our podcast today. Actually, I said what he said, which was, "You don't fall in love, you grow love."
Yes.
And so I do really think these people, also just for the sake of it being Lifetime, and Lifetime has a reputation to uphold, and the show has already been on, and this is an iteration of the existing show. They obviously have something to this, and they know what they're talking about. So I think that they are not fed lines. They might be fed history as to what they might have missed because they might not watch every minute of every
bullet
tape.
points about what to talk about.
Like they might say, okay, well, this episode is sociology because the producers decided that.
So focus on this.
Right. And then also, this is what's been going on with each each couple. So now you're up to speed. Provide advice.
Right.
But the advice is like, I've never felt like the advice is like phoned in.
No.
Right.
Based on our personal experience, based on my opinion, and based on our expertise of dating and relationships, we just filmed our 150th episode on It's Complicated. I feel like
we're old.
We feel as though the advice they're giving, I'm like nodding my head as I'm watching, going, yes, totally. I think they're very good at what they do, these experts, and I think they're right on.
I think these dating shows in general, I've watched and I'm like, whoa, those are things that I need to work on. That's something that I have a hard time expressing. I need to do better at that.
Well, I think that's the great thing about this show. Like, while do I believe that people can fall in love in 3 weeks and decide that's their life partner? No, I actually think that's quite bananas. But the fact that they have guides there that are educated in this area, helping them along the way, pointing out the things that are of value and the priorities to look out for, and helping them communicate, sets them like off on the right foot.
Yes.
Like, so they're ahead already.
The life lessons are real for sure.
And this show to me resonates more because they have basically chaperones that are helping them along. They're not just flim-flamming around some island, you know. Like,
they're getting guided and helped along the way, which is great.
Keep them on track and like it's a little more organized, which I like.
And there's a point to this process. It's not just like find love on an island.
Yeah. And drink, have fun.
Right, bye, you
Bye.
sluts. Yeah, like, no, this is like, find love. Here are the values you should be looking for. Go.
Yeah, I think they're all going to walk away with a definite, like, learning experience.
Totally agree.
And being able to apply this to their life.
Totally
Whether
agree.
they find love or
And
not.
if you're watching, that you should be able to do the same thing. Like you're saying, well, both of us too. Like, I'm like nodding my head going, I'm like writing stuff down. It's
like,
so
I want to
helpful.
see what happens with these couples, but I'm also like, what are these people going to learn? I want to know that.
Yeah.
Totally, 100%. Well, before we go, let's talk about our predictions really quick for the rest of the season.
Okay.
I have a ranking right now. Of
Oh my God. Okay, then you start.
So my ranking right now, I've got Shannon and Kimber in first, Brandin and Jona in second, Chris and Jada in third, Eric and Katie in fourth, and then Tyler and Isabella in fifth.
Oh, you put them down at the bottom.
Tyler and Isabella, I think that Tyler has such a big heart, and I think this is really going to hurt him, and I think he's going to realize, like, if I ever make a mistake in my future, I can't feel this way every time I make a mistake, and I think that's just going to be too much for him.
Very good call on them. I'm going to piggyback on that and say, I honestly think I agree with your ranking, especially with them. I think he is very sensitive, and she is kind of cold, and it is going to be an explosive combination. They are for sure not going to last. No way.
And it's sad because it's like day 11 and like they have been such a roller coaster, which I think shows you also that like you should maybe not go as slow as Brandin and Jona, but like there is some happy medium. Maybe Chris and Jada are the like, you know.
Yeah, maybe they are.
They might be. So I think it is a lesson for all of us viewers actually to see the example of what we want and then follow
extremes.
that.
The extremes. Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
100%. Well, thanks, ladies. This
Thank
was
you.
fun as always. Can't wait to chat about next week and see what things are going to happen. But before we leave, where can they find you on social media, Lauren?
You can find me at Lauren Leonelli on all the social medias.
And you can find me at Jennifer Golden on all the social media platforms and us at Complicated Show right here on AfterBuzz TV before the show.
And hey, guys, Ally Nasta here. Find me on social media at Ally Girl, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.